Regular meeting, North Smithfield Town Council, October 15th, 2018. Madam Clerk, will you lead us in the prayer and the pledge, please?
Lord, assist with thy Holy Spirit of counsel, all those who are serving in positions of authority and responsibility.
To the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Roll call.
Mrs. Bartoli? Here. Mr. McKee?
Here.
Mrs. O'Hara?
Yes.
Mr. Zelinski?
Present.
Mr. Biragad?
Here. Open forum pursuant to 4246-6. We have open forum been kind of going on and on lately, so we're going to limit everybody to 4 minutes. You have 4 minutes to speak. I'm not going to cut you off exactly at the 4 minute mark, but keep it in that time frame. Keep it in that neighborhood of 4 minutes, please. Good.
Raymond Belisle?
Right up here, Mr. Belisle. Okay? He's the first time up here.
Yeah, I don't intend to meeting. My name is Ray Belisle, and this morning I got in my mail, I got this letter that upset me somewhat. As it shows right here, it shows Islam in North Smithfield School Survey. And it goes on, as you read it further down, it's actually a piece of mail that comes from David Arzowitz from Washington, D.C. He's the founder and CEO of the Freedom Center, and they're looking for money. And I thought that you probably would be interested in seeing, keep holding this and looking at it, because actually he isn't an Islam. He's not. He's got his business in Washington, D.C., and he's looking for money. So if you're interested, I'll leave it with you.
Yeah, you bring it over there.
And, gentlemen, I've read this earlier, and most of it involves our schools. And questions about schools, etc.
Thank you.
Cornelia Hurd, please.
Cornelia Hurd, 247 Greenville Road in North Smithfield. You've seen me before. I'm a broken record, and I am speaking out again about changing any zoning for Waterbury Hill. I cannot impress upon you enough. Waterbury Hill is a watershed. A watershed that provides the water to our wells. A watershed that leads into Cherry Brook, which then goes into the Blackstone River. You don't pave over Waterbury Hill. You don't do anything to change what Waterbury Hill is, a watershed. Now, when you're proposing changing the zone, when my husband and I built our house, it was zoned rural agricultural. Then it was changed to rural residential, which it still is. Now, I'm reading commercial, and you're going to promote maintaining the rural atmosphere of the town on the western side of the town, which is fine. Why shouldn't they? But we are rural where we are now. Please don't change a rural area, and more importantly, a hill that is a watershed. Thank you.
Thank you.
Mike Clifford.
I just have a quick question. I'm confused by something I read in the paper this weekend. The road repaving funds for this year, it showed in the budget as $350,000, and there was discussion that apparently I'm not clear on. is that being used to repave the roads for Edward Avenue and Parkview Drive after the sewer assessment? Or is that 350 targeted for other roads? And I'm talking about this year's appropriation. What's that money supposed to be used for?
Well, I don't have the answer offhand to that, but I can definitely find it for you. I can definitely get it for you.
Okay, because that is the amount of money that was in the budget for road resurfacing for this year, though, correct? 350,000. Is there another source or something? Because you alluded to it in an ad in the Valley Breeze, John, and I was confused by it, because you said you made more funds available for road resurfacing other than going through bonding.
We did, but I'm not going to get into the, we're not going to,
Okay. When can I get the answer to whether we're paving Parkview and...
I can find out tomorrow morning for you.
Okay, thanks. Can you email me a response or something?
Sure.
That would never be ready before this year anyway. That would never be ready. I don't think. That could never be ready before the end of the year. There's a lot to go before that.
Well, I'd just like to know, because I thought that money was earmarked to cover those roads after the sewers were put in. So I don't know what other roads we're doing next year, this year, with the 350. That's what I'm trying to find out. What other roads are being done with the 350 besides Parkview and Edward Avenue? Thanks.
Mike Rapko?
Like Rapco, 25 over the road. I want to be brief tonight because we've got the comprehensive plan.
Could you speak up a little louder, Mike?
Okay. I guess my question is, why won't the council president allow the solicitor to respond to my legal questions? This has been going on for 2 years. I've issued a lot of questions. I think other people, other taxpayers have done the same. The bottom line is, we're not lawyers, nor is the council president. So what harm is there if the taxpayer will ask the council to answer a question through the council? You can't ask the solicitor directly. As a courtesy, you go through the council. As an example, Mr. McGee made a comment about the purchase of open space next to Darwin Village. There was a concern, and based upon that concern, you know, a wind turbine contracted with green development was never built, and there's also legal questions about access to that property. I think the taxpayers were misled. We bought the property with the understanding of a wind turbine and access to the property. It never happened. So I guess, I don't know who's at fault. If green development's at fault, shouldn't we be more cautious with green for the next solar project? If they broke the contract, we're going to have another bigger contract coming up. So the question is, should we be paying attention? But I don't know who's at fault. Is it the town or is it green development? Not building a wind turbine also caused a new issue on Old Smithfield Road. Now we moved the wind turbine site from town-owned property to another site on Old Smithfield, and it caused a major problem in the town. So that was an unfortunate circumstance that happened. So I guess if the town council president refuses to ask the solicitor to resolve the issue, are there any other councilors ready? Can they ask the solicitor to resolve the issue so that we understand why the turbine was never built?
Mike, when have I ever refused to answer any of your questions?
It's a legal question. When I ask legal questions to go to the solicitor to get a response, nothing happens. It goes nowhere. I mean, it's not just myself. There's other people. You come up, you see an issue, you're not sure of yourself, you ask a question. I don't know if the question's relevant. I'm not a lawyer. We have a solicitor, but it doesn't seem to get to the solicitor to answer or do a follow-up. I don't expect an answer tonight,
Right.
but it'd be appreciated that it be researched and we find out what's going on.
So your question is, why wasn't the turbine built?
Why wasn't it built?
Okay.
Because we purchased the property on the condition that a wind turbine would be built on the property, a revenue would pay off the open space bond. So, you know, there's no revenue coming in. So now Tommy McGee is correct. We have a piece of property, access issues, no revenue to pay for the purchase, so it probably wasn't a wise investment. That's the bottom line, it wasn't a good investment. Now, I know Green Development is offering some kind of cash bonus with the next project. Maybe that bonus should be applied to pay off that open bond, because we have no revenue coming in to pay for that piece of property we purchased.
Just for the record, though, that whole issue with that turbine and that piece of property was previous council. It was done. It was done at this council.
I'm not arguing with this council, but I think it should be researched to find out what went wrong with this project.
Okay.
I'll take that. Yeah, the council knows. The last council is the one that wrecked that deal.
Yeah, I'll take ownership on this
Yeah,
one,
I mean,
because
I
there are
think-
three parties, Mike. There's Ram Investment,
Right.
there's, I forget Mr. Bucci's, but his limited liability as well as Mr. De Pasquale's limited liability at that time, plus the town. So there are four principal parties involved here. I'll take the lead on it and see if we can come up with the correct answer. Because I'm liking where you're going with that. If there is some, let's get an
Yeah,
answer to that.
let's see how it unfolds, and if it's the town, explain it to the taxpayers that the last council got into some serious legal issues with the payment or whatever went wrong. Just explain it to the taxpayers, and we just push that aside. If it's Green Development that caused some legal issues in the enforcement of the contract.
Yeah, it wasn't green at that time, though. It
Okay,
was a
so
different- yeah.
let's let the solicitor work it out, or yourself, and come up with a solution that the taxpayers can understand what's going on.
And Michael, I remember those promises being made when I sat in the audience with you. And I'll work with Paul on that, because some other people have mentioned that the area, conservation area, there's no accessibility, number one, and they're still asking what happened to the turbine.
Right.
So, Paul, for me, it's present. He was sitting on the last committee, and I'm sure that we'll have some answers for you.
Okay. The only good that could come out of it is if the Green Development Project goes forward, the next phase with the solar,
Yeah.
the cash bonuses or any extra funding could be applied to the open space bond, because we never got revenue for that purchase of that. I think we spent $500,000.
But if other people made promises at that time, those promises should be kept.
Yeah, the taxpayers are expecting that open bond to be paid off,
Absolutely.
and it's not going to get paid off. We're going to have to pay it out of our taxes. So there's no revenue coming in to pay that open space bond. But again, let's solve this one. I had other questions, but tonight let's go to the comprehensive plan and focus on this issue.
Yeah, thank you for bringing it up.
Rich Keane, please.
Good evening, Rich Keane from 7 Bamford Street, Smithfield. I'd like to speak on behalf of the Stonewall Preservation Ordinance that you're going to vote on tonight. I'd like to first say that I have the utmost respect for the committee and the hard work that you folks put in to put that together, and I thank you for that for the town. I also have a lot of respect for our town administrator and the job that he's doing, and I had a chance to read his letter to you folks about it, and I understand some of his concerns. I think that those concerns can be remedied in the future. Whether you vote for the ordinance tonight or not, it's going to take the same amount of work to change the ordinance if it's in place or it's not. I think that personally the town would be better off having the ordinance in place. It's something that tells the people who live in town, but people who are going to move into town, as well as town officials, that some of the stone walls, many of them are important to us, and we want to preserve them. And I think that's That's the most important thing that this ordinance does. So I would ask you to vote in favor of the ordinance and let us address some of the administrative issues in the future. Thank you.
Okay, at this point, I'm going to close open forum. And let's move on to number 4, comprehensive plan. I speak with Mr. Kravitz on this. I know a lot of you, so some of you were here regarding that comprehensive plan, but we're going to want to continue this for another month, Tom? Give people to get more public input on this?
Just by way of the audience, to give an update, we did meet with Cynthia and the group. We had a workshop on October 4th with the planning board. Actually was there as well, because we had a meeting the same night. I thought it went really well, and I just want to, that extra time will give Cynthia time to kind of synthesize the themes and what was discussed that night, and hopefully try to work it into the goals, policies, sections at the end of each chapter, and give you something that you can look at within a month's time.
Okay, would the council be able to see the proposed change before they become changes?
Oh, certainly, yeah. Thank you.
And that'll give you enough time to 1 month?
Just to reiterate, so it's Cynthia Roberts, 49 Week Street, North Smithfield. To reiterate what Tom said, he met during what normally would have been the planning board meeting time. And there were probably about 20 people, 22 people there, including planning board members who also participated as residents, because it was outside of a planning board meeting. And I agree that, yes, we have a lot of notes from that conversation, but really most people there hadn't seen the comprehensive plan yet. So what they were reacting to was like a small conversation that we were having in that meeting. So really the month that we're asking for isn't to get Tom the notes from that night, it's to engage, to convene again. So to convene more people, because, and there's people here tonight who were present who had never really seen the comp plan before, who want to be part of giving feedback to it. So I just want to make it clear, it's not that it's going to take us 2 weeks or a month to put together the notes from that meeting, it's that we need to meet again as residents, because...
Have you set a date for that meeting before?
No, it's based on what we find out here tonight, yeah. So if we have 30 days or a month, whatever, we'll, Tom was just on vacation, so I didn't rush to get him the notes. We will give him the notes from last week, where there's many questions that are documented, and then we have tables, they're actions and policy tables that are in the comprehensive plan that we will be discussing as residents. And some examples of things that we came up with a lot of support from planning board people, again, not in their official role, but as residents, was to do something like perhaps annually have a town meeting that isn't a hearing, but like a town gathering, where we check in on the comprehensive plan and see how we're doing. We found that a lot of the people present have shared values and things that matter to them mutually, regardless of what, for example, their political stance is on things. And people had a lot of opinions about, for example, wanting more sidewalks in certain parts of town, or wanting public transportation from one part to another, or wanting to uplift the community chapter that was written in 2015 and have that be the intro to the document to highlight the fact that we're a community, we're not just land, but we're people who are making decisions about the land and have wishes for ourselves. So it was a really good meeting, and at the end we closed out by checking in with everyone, and it was truly unanimous, and there were at least 20 to 25 people, and every single person, one way or another, said that it was very positive to meet and discuss this outside of a contentious meeting, and I have all of the notes from that meeting. If you would like to see it, I'm happy to share them.
I do do have one question, and it's for both of you. Tom, how many replies did you get on the survey?
I think it was 311.
Okay. How many in your group had actually filled out one of those surveys?
Well, that was something that was raised that evening too. So that survey, although there were some good questions, there were also questions that we have concerns about because of the way they're asked and the types of response categories that are available there. And also the way the link was linkified, we didn't really discuss this that night, but anyone could go on and answer that any number of times. So although that survey does provide some data, it's not the be-all, end-all. And I don't know how many people who were present that night had completed the survey. But the survey really, in and of itself, like I said, it can get at certain questions. But for example, some of the questions didn't have a map that was coded, so people may or may not have been answering in a way that they actually understood what they were answering.
Thank you.
I will say, to the extent that there's a concern about the question in the survey, one way to easily resolve that is to look at the question, analyze the subject matter of the question, and then find in the comp plan where that may be a salient, policy or discussion about it. And to the extent you can isolate, well, maybe this wasn't the right way to ask the question, we'll look at the comp plan and make sure that everything jives. It's not anything you can't work through.
And I agree with that. I just don't think that the survey is like the way to get input on the comp plan.
Where does the meeting take place? Maybe.
Yeah, but it's really predicated upon what you give us. We're going to make it work within the time frame. You give us 30 days.
No, not where, not when, where? Where was your last?
Oh, at the Primrose Fire Station.
That's where your last meeting was?
Yeah.
Okay. Right now, should we do it, schedule a date and do a public hearing for it so other people would feel